I'd like to call tonight's select board meeting to order. It's Tuesday, January 27th. As usual, if you're able to, could you stand and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic, which it stands, one nation, under God, visible, liberty, and justice for all. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is fiscal year 26 AP warrant number 17, the amount of $415,783.68.
I move that we approve fiscal year 26 AP warrant number 17 in the amount of $415,783.68.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded to approve fiscal year AP warrant number 17, the amount of $415,783.68. Is there any discussion? I had to approve that without saying something. On favor? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is payroll journal number 291, amount of $12,842.29.
I move that we approve payroll journal number 291 in the amount of $12,842.29.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded to approve payroll journal number 291, the amount of $12,842.29. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the minutes of previous meeting. This is January 12th, 2026, a regular meeting.
I move that we approve the minutes of the January 12th, 2026 regular meeting.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes of January 12th, 2026. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is public comment on a non-agenda items. This is an opportunity for any resident of the town of Pownell to step forward and be heard by the select board. Is there anybody in the public? Shane, step up and identify yourself.
I'm Shane Brady from Allen Road in Pownell. Last select board meeting, we talked about impact fee reimbursement, and there was a number of questions, and there wasn't a vote taken or any motion. So I brought some supporting documents about what affordable housing is, what Pownell's position in the state and all that. Is that something that the board's willing to look at, or?
We always like to be informed.
Okay, so I got. You guys want there? I like kind of bring into the board.
So you're giving us, this is giving us homework. What
Well,
do you wish us to do? Because we obviously are going to have to take a time to look at it. So what would you like us to do with this, Shane?
so I was hoping to go over it briefly and then,
Bullet points that you'd like us to look at?
yeah, most of them is,
Do it in 5 minutes. Good.
yeah, I think it should be quicker than that. So if you go to the second page, it's the HUD user fair market rent documentation system. And you can put in the zip code, so it does every zip code in the country, basically.
Which packet, which,
It's the second one, so it'd be this one.
okay. Yep.
And if you look at the top, it just says for the zip code 04069, $2,070 is considered fair market rent for a 2-bedroom. And then it gives you a description and more information about the statistics in the previous years. Followed by, if you go the next 2 packets, it does Cumberland County. It's just more statistics on what fair market rent is. And
Okay, and you're presenting this to us to look at, to see if we will change our thoughts about your petition for, I just want to make sure that everybody knows.
Yeah.
Change our decision on your petition for eliminating the impact fee based on the impact fee ordinance codicil that says we can do that for affordable housing if the select board chooses. Is that correct?
So that's further down in the packet.
But I'm asking you why.
Yeah.
You're giving us this information
Yeah.
in order that we reconsider our decision, right?
There was no decision because there was no motion or
Well,
vote.
I think no vote was a decision. We just decided that it was not, we weren't ready to deal with it, but you've given us
Right.
more information.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to pin you down as to why you're giving the board more information. I'm just asking a simple question.
Yeah, I'm just trying to fill in the blanks because there was a lot of confusion and there wasn't a lot of documentation to back up.
Jane, I'm
My
gonna ask
request.
More time, and then I'm gonna dismiss you. Why, what purpose are you giving us this information for? Do you want us to reconsider
Yes.
your petition? Thank you. Okay, so does anybody have any questions for Shane with all this information? We're gonna have to look at this. Or I will have to, I don't want to speak, I'm sorry. I don't want to speak for you two. I will have to look at this. Can we take this up at our next meeting?
Is that all right with the board? Because
George? Kate?
So there's one copy of that information. Is there any way that it could be put online so that we could have the next 2 weeks to review or?
I would need the packet so I could attach it to the agenda.
I take this home, then I drop it off, you can scan it and put it on.
Sounds good.
Becky's all right to have my packet because it's all public knowledge, so I can print it off again. Yeah. No, I can give you this packet. It's, yeah. Yeah.
So
So-
thank you for informing the board. We will do our homework. And we'll put it on the agenda for next meeting.
And then there's one other small thing. So I noticed that the comprehensive plan was never submitted to the state for review. To make sure.
Comprehensive plan was submitted to the state review. The Office of Planning did not have someone to evaluate it because it had closed that branch at the time. So that's why it was not endorsed by the state because they had no official to endorse it at that time.
So they moved it to, I got it right here. Maine Department of Agricultural and Conservation Forestry.
They didn't inform the town.
So would the board be willing to submit it for review? Or is it just,
We have to, when was our comprehensive plan written?
It was written in 2021. It was accepted in February of 2022. I think it would require town meeting vote to submit to the state because that was not included in the warrant article at the time because the office didn't exist.
so it doesn't go to town meeting? All it has to do is have the select board approve it.
Would have to go to town meeting. Have the town meeting authorize us to submit the comprehensive plan that was approved by the town meeting 2021,
February 2022.
February 20. That was a special town meeting.
It was a special town meeting, Valentine's Day.
So if you'd like us to bring
It's-
this forward to the town meeting we'll have to verify that's really where we're gonna send it. Sure.
Yeah, is that something you guys be willing to entertain, putting on the warrant for this?
Absolutely. If that's a citizen's request, there's no problem presenting it to the town meeting vote.
Okay. Yeah, because they closed the office in 2012. Mind it with the forestry and conservation people, but that's most of the other information on it.
Thank you. All right, we'll do that. So we'll all right, put that on order. Thank you, Shane. All right, next item, are there no other members of the public? Next item, department reports. Department heads reports can be found on the website. Click on the department. The report is there. Select board have any questions for any department heads at this time? Being none, does select board have anything to report out at this time? Kate Dick.
I have a letter from the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee based on the survey response that they received. This is a brief summary of the results of the survey. The survey functioned both as an educational opportunity for residents by sharing information on Casella hauling costs and EcoMaine tipping fees, and as an opportunity for them to select their ideal long-term option, rank their highest and lowest priorities, and provide additional comments. A few key notes. Strong support for current system. 91% of respondents who selected one of the 3 standard options, which was 204 people, prefer to continue with the current Casella roadside collection system rather than switching to a transfer station model. Convenience over cost. Residents overwhelmingly prioritize service over savings. 177 respondents chose convenience as their top priority, while only 22 respondents ranked cost to taxpayers as their highest priority. There were also concerns that opening a transfer station would be more expensive while less convenient. When commenting on rising property taxes, people tended not to view trash and recycling as an area where budget cuts would be appropriate, given their happiness with the current system and the value they see in maintaining it. Essential service. In comments, people viewed trash collection as a core municipal service, comparing it to road maintenance and snow plowing. There is a link to all the survey responses for reference. To see the longer responses summary, find there's an email which was sent to the select board from December 10th, 2025 with the subject line Pownell Solid Waste and Recycling Survey Results. So this letter is from Dan, the head of the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee.
Thank you, Kate. Any comments, George, Becky? Good. Guess that was pretty telling. Okay, next item is new business, budget presentations, general government, planning board, human services, Mallet Hall, debt service. We have the budget committee here. Maybe we could just introduce ourselves so that the viewing audience knows who we are. Ready to start? Sure.
Anna Shu,
Andy O'Brien.
Jennifer Giuliano, Deborah Delp.
You all for serving, and Becky, the floor is yours.
I'm gonna share my screen. Just a second. All right, it's in the way. Go. Okay, so I will go line by line for those of you that are new, and just a refresher for those that have done this in the past, and talk about what that line means, and kind of move through them. If you have questions, I'll pause during the time to ask questions to just give more clarity to what's going on. And we're just going to move through all the budgets that way, and I'll try to make it fun and entertaining. So we're going to start at the top, general government professional services audit. So that right there is for our auditor to come in each year and do an audit of our financials, which is required. She had told me that it was going to stay at 6,000 for 3 years. So that was 25, 26, and 27. So it has stayed flat with no increase. I will expect probably an increase next year. Questions about the audit line?
We use the same service every year.
Yes.
So we have a contract with them.
I don't know per se if it's a contract, but she's the one, Mindy Sear from Maine Municipal Services, that comes down and does it. And we want to hang on to her because auditors are fewer and far between, becoming that. So we're grateful that we have her. Election, professional services. This line is for printing ballots for mostly June, the municipal election and the RSU election, and coding the memory sticks that run the machines. $950 seems to be a pretty good number. The RSU does refund half the coding of the stick and the printing of their portion of the ballots out of that. We usually get that in the next fiscal year because this always happens in June. Any other ballots that are state-run are provided by the state and are no cost to the town. Questions on election professional services? Legal line, I have moved that up to 20,000. There is going to be a rate increase with our town attorney, Drummond Woodson, from 250 to 275. So I have compensated for that and just making sure that we are keeping that line relevant with the work that is being done through our legal team. Questions on the legal fees? Tax maps, I have increased that to 4,000. Their costs have gone up. This includes the licensing for the parcel viewer that's online with all our property cards. It also includes the printing of all the updated tax maps that we have at the town hall, and the update to the GIS system that is paired with our parcel viewer. So I moved that up to 4,000 to compensate for the cost that it is now.
Looks like historically, we have always needed a little bit more than what we budgeted.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes there was one year we had to have two sets of tax maps and I don't remember the reason, it was a couple of years ago. So that was why in 2025 actual, you'll see that's a little bit higher than what we had budgeted, and that was for that second set. I did notice that paying for the license, it was $500 for the GIS system and it was $700 this year. So I'm just compensating for that.
And that certain instances.
It's the one license for the parcel viewer. Yeah. The one program. And payroll, I have kept the same. That is for Bangor Payroll, who processes our weekly payroll, does all our quarterly reports and our W-2 processing. It looks to be, we're staying right in track with staying under 3,500 for the last couple of years, and we're just about halfway spent. These numbers, I should have probably said, the year-to-dates include the last AP warrant, but not the one that was approved tonight because that hasn't posted yet. So I don't have those updated years to date. So this is as of the first warrant paid in January, which is just a little over the halfway mark, and we seem to be right on check with that figure. Any questions on the payroll processing? So our total on professional services is $34,450. That's a $4,000 increase or a 13% increase for that section. Okay. General government, property and casualty insurance, that one has an increase of $1,362. So I moved that up to 29 because they realized that part of Mallet Hall being on the historic registry changes the valuation portion of it. They gave us a freebie this particular year because they had already done the assessment, but moving into next fiscal year, they're going to account for that, and that accounted for that slight increase in our property and casualty insurance. Questions on that one? Nope. Okay. And then workers' comp, keeping steady at $16,190. So we pay a percentage on the first $25,000 that everyone makes. Some people go over that, some people don't. We then, if we have a safe workplace, we get a refund check from the workers' comp. I believe it was somewhere around $1,600 last year. So it's always hard to know if we're going to get that. That kind of accounts in some of those differences you see where we fell under. So I'm just keeping that one steady at the $16,190 because it is hard to predict the 25,000 mark for everybody. Questions on that? Okay, so that one had a 3% increase for the general government, dollar amount $1,362. So we'll move on to professional services technology. I'm going to open this one up because I do itemize it. This line carries a lot of items. So this carries our Trio software. So our Trio software is how we do all the transactions at the counter. It's how we do AP warrant, dog licensing, car registration, all those things. It's how we do tax billing. our real estate collections, our real estate maintenance and assessing. So it really is kind of the fundamental piece. We are currently using what's called Trio SQL, which is a program downloaded onto all of our computers. Windows is no longer supporting that. So we have to move to what's called Trio Web this summer. And so that increase, because if we look last year, we were 16,160 is what I budgeted. This year, I am budgeting 187740 because that accounts for the upgrade to Trio Web. There's a one-time installation fee included in that, and then the licensing fee. I am opting for us to be our own server and them not being the host server, Harris Government themselves. So we will still be hosting it locally on our server, but it will be a web-based program with a little bit of probably learning curve for us launching sometime after July 1, if this is approved. So that's that increase. This line also includes Adobe so that I can have PDF converter on my computer. It's Zoom, so we can record and run these meetings. Ion Networking has an increase. This one was kind of an interesting one. I've actually broken out the fire department and the public works IT from the budget. General government's been paying that, but as it's ticked up, it's starting to become substantial amount of money. But this also now includes Microsoft Copilot license. So that's why there's an overall increase this year. Now that we have passed an AI policy, and we have stated in the policy Microsoft Copilot is our preferred GAI piece that we work with, we're supplying licenses to all the town staff. So I just signed on that piece, and this is budgeting for it. The website has a contract price of $2,650. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
So these are things like Creo, Adobe, all of this. Do these costs include like tech support? So like, or would that be something that we would then pay more for? Like, so training to get you guys, yeah, this one's on.
Is it with like additional training or, you know, we run into an issue or we have to like upgrade our physical devices because maybe Web Trio, I don't know, like maybe we need newer computers or something. Would any of that training and tech support be included in these increases, or is that like an additional, would that be an additional add-on?
The answer is yes and no. So Trio, all tech support is covered. And then they offer trainings at $25 or $35 a class. They haven't offered them in a long time because they've been short-staffed. So with Trio, if I've got a call and I've got something going on, checks didn't print right, or the file didn't convert right, there's no cost to any of those calls. I can call them 25 times a day and there's no additional cost. Adobe, there's not really any tech support with that. Ion Networking is kind of yes and no. It depends on whether it's a managed station or a monitored station to what you get that's covered under their warranty. So any stations that are managed, which a couple of them are, any calls pretty much are covered. If it's monitored, some things are covered and some things might not be. And it's about a 5-page list if I had to try to figure it out.
This feels like this is going to be enough money to cover.
Yes, I've also increased, given some scam things going on lately in this Ion 17,320, it also increased the server to a monitored station, which increases the firewall and the backup and the security. I felt that was a relevant time right now to maybe put that into place. I have some quotes for some second factor security. It was pretty expensive. I think let's start with this, then reevaluate next year for added security and kind of bring that up. I'm confident under the monitored status of our server with the extra security that will be added, that this will be good. And this covers it because they sent me an actual quote, so.
Cool, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. The website, we get training and help and things with that as well. So we've got, there's videos we can watch, we can call in. There's no cost to those calls if we have any questions. The admin site is pretty basic to use. And our info officer, Jaylene, really has it down well. So she actually shows me how to do things on it now, which is super helpful and saves time. Constant Contact, again, they do have a help where you can sort of do an online chat that doesn't cost anything. The Constant Contact is the monthly email we send out if you're subscribed to that list. And then ADA compliancy. So here's the other piece of this. So by April of 2027, our website has to be ADA compliant. And we've made steps towards that with the refresh, but there are still things to happen. We have engaged with Dorigo Interactive through GP Cog to have an audit done. And I have a meeting with them next week to get that started. They're going to tell us what still needs to happen. I have no idea, so I've kind of put 2,000 in there. It could be too much, it might not be enough, I don't know, but I wanted something for website upgrades that we still might have to do. I think we have to have an accessibility button, so if you are sight impaired, you hit the button, it will read the website to you. I believe that's one, and I don't know what that's gonna, that's gonna be added cost with our web designer as part of this. So that is sort of we know it's coming. We want to make sure we have some sort of plan, so we are in federal law compliance by next April when it goes into effect. Questions about the technology line? So that one does have a 15% increase, dollar amount of $5,385 for the added security on the server, the increase of the Microsoft Copilot, the ADA compliancy component are the bigger drivers there. And then computer, so computer, just in case, the modem goes down, we got to replace a speaker or whatever, that might happen internally. Sometimes those things don't work and we have to have them replaced. So we have a line in case we have to replace any equipment on the computer.
And that all comes through ION.
Correct, yes, yep. Sometimes it's included in the contract and sometimes it's not. So our professional services line for that section has a 14% increase and a dollar amount increase of $5,385. All right, we're going to move on to supplies. So supplies has a decrease. So last year we had increased it because the code changed for our code enforcement officer, and we needed to replace all the internal books, and they were about $3,000. Some thrifty shopping and by our code enforcement officer, we were able to get them done for a little bit less. So therefore, I've taken all that money out of the supply line that we had budgeted last year for updating all those books. He was able to get a couple online versus the print, which was a little less expensive. So it was good. So that's why that one has a $1,500 deduction. I did leave a little in there because, as we know, the cost of goods is continuing to increase. Paper is now almost $100 for a case of paper when I order it, and it was about $50 when I started here 5 years ago. So, so I want to make sure we have enough money for office supplies. Questions on office supplies? Okay. The copier, so this one has pop-up. So this one includes a few items again. So our big printer is a leased printer. So that amount is $2,012 for the year. Our BMV, Bureau of Motor Vehicles printer, where we print your registrations, that has a yearly contract of $800. We have 2 Canon printers, one in my office, one in the front office for the road commissioner and the assessor to use. So combined maintenance and contract on those were $1,200. And then we have a final Kyocera contract of $900 that goes with the Kyocera lease. I did not put any copy fee in this year because we have fallen under having the Star printer to print the receipts versus printing on paper and being able to print to these other Canon ones. So not everyone's converging on the big printer has reduced our copy fee. So therefore I don't expect us to go over our 30,000 copy limit that we have per year. So that was eliminated. So there was just a slight increase on that one of $650, which was a 15% increase. Questions on all our copiers?
So we don't own any of our copiers or printers. We lease them all.
That's correct.
And then like service or maintenance contracts
That's correct.
and like the ink and the paper and everything just like is going up.
Yes. Yep. So many copies. I will say we do own the receipt printer. We do own that one, but all the big printers are lease printers.
30,000 copies of this.
No. And then finally, supplies elections. That is for anything that we do. As you know, we usually put nice colorful tablecloths out. We do supply food to the election crew. There are some things the state doesn't supply, so we just want to make sure we have enough supplies for that. And that's what that 750 covers. That has historically been more than enough money, so I've left that the same. Questions about the election? So the supply section actually had an 8% decrease, went down $850, mostly because of the office supplies. We like decreases. Right, moving on to town expense. Postage. So there's a projected increase to 78 cents for the metered rate. We do get a slight discount having a meter. The meter lease costs us $664 a year. Tax bill postage costs us about $595. We do about $270 in priority mail. The quarterly mailer that we send out to all homeowners costs $1,576. We do about 690 certified with the 30-day notice and lien process. And then I'm estimating about 1,700 in first class. And that's basically any letters or bills and things like that we mail. So even with the increase, we were doing motor vehicle reports every week and sending them priority. We're now doing them every other week. So I've reduced the budget by that amount, which was even with the meter rate going up, there was a slight decrease of $20 for that line. Questions about postage? Registry of Deeds, this is for all the deed transfers that happen at Cumberland County Registry of Deeds for any property that has sold or transferred hands. Historically, as you look back through, we've been under the 200, so I felt confident just keeping it at 200. Questions about deed transfers? Dues and membership. So this includes our GP-COG membership, our MMA, Maine Municipal Association membership, and memberships for the clerks, myself, and the code enforcement officer to their relative fields. There was an increase in both the MMA and the GP-COG dues, so that's why there's a $365 increase or a 5% increase on that line. Questions? Yep.
Can you remind me, what was the big jump in 2025? Is that we had more people with the memberships?
I think it was starting to bring it was probably more memberships. There was also probably an increase in both GP-COG and MMA realigning. Yeah, but that would be my initial thought just looking at that.
Your GP-COG membership and Public Works, one and the same?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe the town as a whole is a GP-COG, so them being a department under the town would be included. Yep. All right, miscellaneous, this is just for anything else that might come up, like once in a while, if the credit card payment misses in the mail and I argue the late fee and I don't win, it would come out of that. Things like that. So we keep that historically at $500. For the most part, we're always way under that, so that's a good thing. Questions about miscellaneous? Advertising, this is for public hearing notices, mostly. This line mostly covers general government. If the planning board has any public notices, it comes out of their town expense. We have had to switch from the forecaster because it's no longer in print to the Times Record because we are still required by state statute to put it in print paper. Their cost is about $150 every time we do one. I'm so confident that the 1,100 will be more than enough to cover any notices we need.
There is a bill in the State House to get rid of the print.
That's been there for a couple of years and it hasn't moved forward. I'm hoping because it would make it so much easier because I could go back to the forecaster. We used to have that delivered here for the purpose that we advertised in it and they just couldn't keep up with the cost of print. You see that line might change if that bill passes. Okay, printing. Have that one itemized. So the quarterly newsletter is 3,600 for us to print those four. The tax bills cost us about 325, and the annual report I have estimated at 475. Each year, I reduce the amount of annual reports I print because each year I am usually recycling them. This is the first year that we actually handed every report out. So that's why there's a bit of a decrease, because I think I have found the number that seems to make sense for everyone, where we've got our vault copies, but we're not recycling, and wasting. So that is 4,400 for that line, a $75 decrease or a 0.02% decrease. Questions on the printing line? All right, the cell phone. So this includes a town-provided cell phone. The CEO added a line to his rather than having a town-provided, so this is the cost of the added line on his plan. This is for the town administrator to have a $60 a quarter stipend, and then the ACO is doing the same with an added line as well soon. So that had a slight increase to just account for the new animal control officer added line over last year. That was not part of last year's budget. So it had a $188 increase or a 20% increase. Questions on the cell phone? Excuse me. The next line is a consultant. This was a line we added last year. We felt that the general government, especially the code enforcement officer, might need to reach out to people in the field for added guidance. So we added this consultant line. We haven't had any expenses out of it this year, but we have one coming. That audit that's happening is coming out of that line for the website. So I'm keeping that in place should we need that in the future for other things coming down. So that has remained the same. Question on the consultant. Okay. This next one is a new line. So our in-house planner position has been vacant since last fall, and we've had some discussions about the direction moving forward. And later in the agenda, the select board is actually looking at a contract for an independent contractor to work up to 8 hours a week solely on specific items to help with planning, because I feel like this person is going to be more of a support to code enforcement and maybe myself. I'm not including this in the planning board's budget. I'm including it in the general government budget. One thing to know that I will, in the compensation budget, probably not be funding the town planner line unless the select board wants to go a different route, which we haven't gotten that far. We haven't talked about compensation, but there's probably going to be some offset with this added line in this budget to what's going to happen in the compensation budget too. So my hopes is we find a level playing field there.
You said this was for 8 hours a week.
Up to 8 hours a week, yes.
Is there a reason why it's not included in the planning board budget, but it's here instead?
Well, because I think this person is going to be working more directly with code enforcement. Most specifically, they're going to be starting on the land use ordinances, making sure that the LD 2003 and LD 1829, and she listed a couple of other ones, that we have made all the necessary changes to be in compliance with those law changes in Augusta. I think that this person is going to be indirectly supporting the planning board, but when we get to their budget, they have a whole line for their support system. So there's more kind of coming on that budget for them. Does that answer your question, Kate? Okay. Any other questions on the planning consultant line? And this amount includes the hourly fee up to 8 hours plus any incidental fees like mileage or copy fees or anything that you might have to do for us.
When has this position been posted, or when will it be posted?
This is an independent contractor, so it's not a town employee. So we do not have any payroll taxes. There will be no FICA, Medicare, or unemployment or workers' comp associated with this line.
Are we
1099.
Just a 1099, yeah.
So, but is it a position that like we're currently looking for?
The select board have a contract tonight to either accept or deny, so, yeah. Other questions?
That district the select board has decided that we really need somebody to work directly with the ordinances. We're getting in trouble with our ordinances. Just need 35 people. So this person will work behind specifically focus. We have another consultant for the planning board now. So that's why it's on this side. Spreadsheet. Planning.
Great. So overall, that budget does have a 107% increase, mostly because of that planning consultant. But again, my hopes when I look at the compensation budget is I'm going to be offsetting that.
Because we have reduced position, we have limited planning. Quite offset.
If, at quick numbers, if I were to click in between the salary, the FICA and the Medicare alone, I think it was 72,000. So depending on what we do, it could make a huge difference when we reevaluate the compensation budget, but we haven't gotten that far yet. Okay, on to utilities. So the telephone, that one has a jump up to 6,060. That's mostly because of adding the extra line for the part-time clerk. That happened just after budget cycle last year. So now I'm compensating for that. So as you can see, we've spent 3,000 at the halfway mark on our telephone. So I think 6,060 will be pretty much on the mark for the town office phone lines. It's expensive, Jennifer.
Like
Yep.
expensive, 'cause these are landlines.
These are landlines. They're voice over IP, so they technically run off the internet, but yeah, but they are landlines, yes.
Imagine if you still had to rent the phone.
Correct. We don't rent these phones, like, that's not part of it, so. Yep. Questions on the phone line? Great. And cable, I did not increase. They did have about a $10 a month increase last year. They seem to do it about every other year. Even if they have a $10 increase, 2,000 will cover it. So I'm confident that that number can stay the same. So no change there. So the utilities had a 21% increase, or a $1,380 increase, driven mostly by the phone. Any questions on the utilities? Right, animal control. So town expense at 500, that's if we need to send trainings, which right now we have the ACO and the deputy ACO trainings are paid for that are required. We need to buy more cages or equipment for them to do the job. That's where that money would come from, or where we'd spend that money from. Questions on the ACO, animal control officer, town expense? Our dues and membership, and I made a note in here because I didn't want to forget to talk about that. So this, we are by contract required to contract with a local humane society, so we contract with Midcoast. So I called and got what they'll be charging us next year, which is $2,522. But they did want to mention that they've seen an uptick in other towns where they've had to come in and seize animals. All the medical care falls back on the town if that happens, and it's not anything we've ever budgeted for. Just kind of want to put a little bug kind of in my ear. They don't expect any, they don't have any on the horizon. They wanted me to know that, but just something to think about. The cost does go back to the town if they have to come in lawfully and seize an animal or several animals. So it's something we've just never budgeted for, and hope we never have to, honestly. But I just had a note that I wanted to put that out there. So that had a $62 increase, or 3%. So overall, the ACO went up $62 or 2%. Questions about the animal control officer's budget? Okay, and finally, under general government, we are at the planning board. So I sent planning board financials, and then I went to their meeting last week to talk about their needs. They felt that the $8,000 for the town expense was appropriate. This covers any office supplies that they need, training, legal fees, and advertising, anything just associated with the planning board to do their business. And they felt that $8,000 was still plenty of money for that. So I left that the same. And then the consultant line is specifically for North Star. So that is the consultant that they use. They support them with the subdivision review, come to the meetings, so that would include any mileage, attendance at meetings, and the work that they do directly for the planning board. So that's why I have the two separate, because they have that support system there. And then the subcontractor we're looking to hire indirectly will be supporting them with the ordinance work. Questions about the planning board budget? So their budget remained the same. So overall, the general government budget has a 22% increase, or $43,797. And again, I hope to be able to offset that when I look at compensation.
Yeah, but most of that is the new planning consultant.
That is correct. Yep, that is correct.
I just have like a what if question.
Sure.
So, like, if we were to look at this, these categories for general government, and we had to find like a couple areas to just trim a little bit, like, do you think that there are any places where we could trim a little bit?
The only thing we could do is we could get rid of Adobe. We could stop sending constant contacts. We could get rid of the quarterly mailer. I mean, those are essential, I think, and people enjoy them, but I don't need them to do a car registration, I guess. We have to have the audit. I mean, I have to have supplies for things, postage, because I've got to mail absentee ballots too. I have to think about those things. So for me, it would be services that honestly, I think the residents actually appreciate, enjoy getting for the information that's shared, but we do it, it's not a requirement, I guess, to run business. That would be my initial without really looking. I mean, if I tried to trim supplies back and then couldn't order paper in June to print the incoming voter list, could be problematic, or, Yeah, yep, absolutely. Yep.
The planning board town expense, the only year that they've come close to hitting the
Mhm.
full budget is 2024.
Mhm.
But at the same time, my crazy little mind here, I know they're facing some increased pressure too. So I don't have an issue with the $8,000.
Yeah, it's the crystal ball.
It's enough.
Right, it's the crystal ball of not knowing how many subdivision applications could come before, and then they need a site walk, which requires public notice in a printed paper, so that's 150, that could take up $1,000 easily, If we need legal guidance from our town attorney, then that would come if they're taking trainings, which they have trainings they have to take. Those can be upwards of $100 a person. And when you got 7 on the board, I mean, 2 trainings alone could take $1,400 of that money in 1 year. So, yeah.
Yeah. I was just gonna mention that too. If you look at the budget versus actuals year over year, it's always under,
Yes.
like by 40,000, 47,000, 26,000. So it's, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
It'd be nice not to increase the legal.
Yeah.
We're under the gun all the time now. Be nice not to have to increase technology fees, but if you just read about other towns, the problems they're having, scammed, really daunting. Try to run this little office, not realizing technological support for them hacking into sensitive data. So it's very expensive.
Mhm.
Not an invention kitchen anymore. It's just, it always boggles my mind how expensive technology is.
And one thing, Ion, they haven't been, their increases happened in May, and I had a conversation, and I said, for me, May is, we've missed the mark. And so they're actually going to reach out to me in November now and talk about what it might look at. So I'm still kind of crystal balling Ion. I'm actually going to have harder numbers next year, which will be great. But we did add licenses this year, and then the added security. We just most recently had scammers pretend as if they were a planning board member and send emails out to two people that had projects before the planning board demanding like $10,000 through a wire transfer. Now, the town will never ask for an EFT or wire transfer or an online link or anything, but it was just enough to say, you know what, I want to talk about security on our server here. We don't keep information on there like credit card numbers or any of that stuff, but I just want security there. And it felt like that was the place where I needed to concentrate this year on any bigger increases.
And the unintended consequence of having you have some artificial intelligence involved, unintended consequence, that we needed to provide a platform for the town employees to use that required buying license for Copilot. 3 years ago, we would have thought that artificial intelligence would have been a problem. We were in surrounding towns, get in trouble by having their employees use AI instead of their own words during court. So we were just trying to, in a very slow way, trying to stay ahead of trouble. These are hard increases to put in. It just means that the town being pushed into technology age that we're interested in joining.
I still use a pen and paper and a list on my desk because there's satisfaction from crossing off that list. But I've been better about using a digital calendar and sharing it with the office so they know where and, what's going on with me and why I'm in and out all the time too. Okay, I am going to move on to Mallet Hall. All right, pest control. So we do have Command Pest comes once a month and
Skip human services.
oh, I was just going by my tabs on the bottom. I can skip to human and go back. That's fine. Gotcha. I will go in your order. Okay, human services. First line is general assistance. So by state law, the town is required to offer general assistance. We fund it at 5,000. The state does refund at a rate of 70% of any assistance provided, provided that they accept all the documents and we've done it correctly. So that one kind of has an in and out all the time where we might expend, but then we get some money back from the state. We always want to make sure we have money in there. Even if that 5,000 is spent, we would still have to provide general assistance for the remainder of the year by state law. We have been okay at the 5,000 mark for the last almost 4 years, so I'm confident in keeping that in place at 5,000. Questions about general assistance? Okay. Freeport Community Services, so we contract with them. They provide all our fuel assistance. Any notarial acts, if you donate, we also send that check to them at the end of the year for the Keep Pownell Warm Fund for that assistance. You may notice there's a new wood bank out by the sand shed now, so they come and they fill that with donated wood for people who might be waiting on a wood delivery, and as cold as it's been lately, come down for an armful or two to get them through the night. Fully donated and run by the wood bank out of FCS. They have asked for a 500 increase, and I have included in your packet, and I don't know if this will show on a screen. First and foremost, a big thank you to the town of Pownell. The ongoing support of the services provided residents of Pownell. Not only is financial support important, but the cooperation and communication between FCS and the town administrator is outstanding, ensuring the needs of residents can be met when identified. As you see from the data on page 2, FCS has seen a 35% increase in the dollar value of resources provided to the most vulnerable residents in Pownell. This represents more than 10-time return on the $4,500 investment by Pownell in FY25. The food pantry alone has seen an increase in the number of visits from 51 in FY23 to 73 in FY25. More recently, the pantry has seen a significant increase in need with the cutback in food security support at the federal level, and 45 people needed assistance keeping the heat on. Currently, there are 18 volunteers who live in Pownell who are passionate about supporting FCS at all levels. FCS appreciates the challenge the town has in trying to minimize tax rate increases. Costs continue to increase across that spectrum. This is true for FCS as well. So it is with this understanding that FCS is seeking only a modest $500 increase in town support for FY27, from $4,500 to $5,000 after being flat for a number of years. We believe the numbers speak for themselves, but welcome the chance to meet and answer any questions you might have. And for whatever reason, I can't scroll to the second page. You all have printed copies there. All right, that's the end of that. Respectfully submitted, Bo Chesney. And then in the second page, they did include some year-over-year data, which I think has been asked in the past when we reviewed this line, of dollar amounts and the number of people that are specific to Pownell that they have served. Questions about the Freeport Community Service request?
I can say my 6 years on the select board, it was $4,500
Mhm.
for all that, and probably before that, so. I don't think $500 is a big ask for what they give back.
The heating assistance alone is hugely beneficial because it means I don't have to do a general assistance application for that. And they're so fast. They actually get that probably faster than doing a general assistance application through the office. And then the added wood bank has just been amazing. We call and it's usually filled the next morning when it's empty. So. All right, and then the Family Crisis Center is the other place that we support at $1,000. They have not asked for any increase. And the Teenport Center does not exist. I still only have it in there because we had budgeted for a couple of years and that will eventually drop off in a year or two. So the Human Services is a $500 increase or 5% increase by the Freeport Community Service request. Any questions on Human Services? Okay, back to Mallet Hall. All right, maintenance professional service, pest control. So we do have Command Pest comes in once a month and does pest control for us, filling traps outside and in and helping us keep those little critters at bay. He has not increased. It's $55 a month for his service. So that remains the same at $600. Questions on pest control? Janitorial, so we do have an outside contractor that comes in and cleans once per week. Rates have remained the same, so I'm keeping it at $5,200 for the upcoming year. Questions on janitorial? Elevator repair. So this includes the quarterly inspection. So we are required to have our elevator inspected quarterly. Casco Bay Elevators does that for us. He was just here last week. They have just increased from $240 to $280 on the quarterly. So I compensated for that in here. Repairs typically, because we just had it modernized a couple of years ago. We haven't had any, so that's good, and hopefully it'll stay that way for a long time. So that only had a $70 increase to just compensate for that slight increase in the quarterly inspection. Questions on our elevator repair? We also have a line for elevator maintenance for any ongoing regular software updates that have to happen aside from any repairs, anything that might break on accident. That is $1,240. That also includes the sprinkler testing that has to happen internally that we have to coordinate with our Eastern Fire and Tech, I believe it is, that does that. So at $1,240, historically, we've spent $1,200, $350, and $1,160, depending on the needs. Questions on the elevator maintenance line? Okay. Furnace repair. This had been something that we had budgeted for, but we were not getting the furnaces cleaned. And now we have a new boiler. It is on a cleaning schedule. We just had the boiler and the new heat pumps all serviced, and it was $450 to do all of them. I was pretty happy with that price. I'm still keeping it at $800, anticipating there might be some future heat pumps installation coming that would need cleaning, and servicing. So.
Is that a service contract or is it?
It's not really a contract. It's through ABG out of Durham. They're the ones that put the boiler in. So I've just been working with them. Since they have installed all the equipment, I just have them come and maintain it, but we are not under a signed contract to do it. Questions about furnace repair? This is a good line. Mallet Hall painting. We're down to the last piece to paint, which is this back wall kind of facing Public Works. So I went off the 2024 budget, which was the front section. We came in a little under budget on that one, so I still think 10,000 compensates for some increase in costs. Sear Painting has been the one doing it. They'll be doing this backside in the spring. We have that on the schedule. I think it's the beginning of May. So that has a 17% decrease or $2,000 decrease on the Mallet Hall. And then we have painted all 4 sides of the building and it will be done. That project is done. Questions? Yeah, questions on Mallet Hall painting? All right, general maintenance. So this includes our subcontractor, which happens to be our ACO as well. This includes pay for him and any materials he might need to do necessary repairs, or if we have to bring in like an electrician to do something that's outside his scope of work. I've kept it the same at $10,900. We've historically been underspent just because we have really tried to figure this line out, you know, and the relationship out. And I'm hoping we're moving in the right direction now to get some needed repairs done. Questions on the general maintenance line from Mallet Hall? Great. Generator maintenance. So we have a backup generator that sits out there. You might hear it on some Monday nights doing its test. They just had a slight increase to their yearly service fee. So there was a $100 increase, move that up to $700. That one's pretty simple and easy. They come and they do all the maintenance to it, checking the oil, the battery, all the cables, and anything else that needs to happen. Questions on generator maintenance? Okay. And janitorial supplies. So the one thing that's great about our janitorial line above having a subcontractor is she mostly supplies a lot of the cleaning stuff. So this really compensates for paper towels and toilet paper for the public areas and some incidentals. I just placed a fairly large order to replenish paper towels. I try to buy a 2-year supply every year to cut down on the shipping costs too and not have to worry and think about it. But 500 historically seems to be more than enough to cover any of the incidentals we need to get for the public spaces. Questions on janitorial supplies? Okay. So the overall Mallet Hall maintenance professional service had a 6% decrease, down $1,890 from last year's projected budget. All right, we're going to move on to life safety and professional services. So our alarm system. So before we moved to the new phone system, they were using the old landlines to run the tests on the alarm system. We moved to Cunningham, which is a new contractor. We were with Seacoast before. Seacoast said we had to have dedicated phone lines, which would have been a pretty high expense. And they told us the cell tower wouldn't work here. They tested it and we didn't have enough cell signal. We brought Cunningham in, they tested it, said cell service will work just fine. So we installed that a year and a half ago. But there is a maintenance fee of $600 on the alarm system for the cell service, plus $600 for the actual monitoring of the alarm system. So that's why you see that has a $400 increase this year, is to compensate now for the cell tower monitoring that we didn't have previous. Questions on our alarm system? Licensing smoke testing, keeping that at 1,100, and that's just required smoke testing that we have to have done every year for the building. I don't know too much more about that, but it's just something I get done every year. Questions on the smoke testing? I probably couldn't answer them anyway. Fire extinguisher testing, another thing we're required to do every year. So last year it had jumped up to $769. So I did bump it up to $800 to just make sure I've covered any increase in costs for that to happen. Questions on fire extinguisher testing? And mine is separate from the fire department. So that's just the fire extinguishers that are here in Mallet Hall. The ones at the fire station and Public Works are separately billed and under their budgets. And the sprinkler test and maintenance, keeping at 600, that accounts for the regular testing and then any additional maintenance. Now, we did just have a lot of sprinkler heads replaced under a contract in our antifreeze system was rejuvenated because it did not pass the test when they came and tested last year. So hopeful that we're in good shape on the sprinkler heads and not needing any additional maintenance. Question on the sprinkler test and maintenance. Okay, so the life safety and professional service had $450 increase over last year, or a 14% increase. And finally, under Mallet Hall is utilities. So electricity, it's always a moving target. I have increased it by $200. I have done some comparison from last year to this year, even with the added heat pumps. When we did the whole insulation work, it actually reduced the heat pumps by $200 a month, what we were spending previously before the insulation was done. They're so much more efficient than the wall unit that was being used in that front office. Heat-wise, they seem to be, even in this cold, doing really well. Comparison over last year, we're not really spending any more now that we've gotten the insulated, and it's been so much colder this year than it was last winter. But we don't know what the costs are going to be, so I did add a couple $100 more, just looking at the trend as we tick upward. And again, anticipating that we might be installing more through a grant that we've applied for. We're waiting to hear back, and that would be coming this summer. So did a lot of cost comparison and what it looked like. We were running wall AC units in the windows. They are not efficient at all. And so I think heat pumps, even in the end, will probably be less money than what we were spending for AC in the offices itself. Those units also include up here, which we've never run AC up in these areas before. Questions on electricity? I'm sure we have lots of questions, but none that we can probably answer tonight. So our utilities did have a decrease of 3% or 1,240, mostly because of that paint line up in the first section, coming down from doing the smaller section. One to go. Debt service, my favorite. All right, so we have 3 road bonds with principal and interest payments. And each year they decrease. So this is the budget I like to present because it has a decrease every year so far. They also renegotiated interest rates after they did an audit, and we got a further reduction in interest rates last year and a new schedule, which was nice. So our 2007 road bond will mature on 11/1/2037. So we've got a few more years to pay on that one. That amount is $39,417, doesn't change. That is the payment schedule. The interest rate has decreased by $433 coming into next year. So that's a 4% reduction from the previous year. Questions on the 2007 road bond? Okay. We have a 2011 road bond that is due to mature 11/1/2040. Has a principal payment of $45,725, stays the same. And then the interest reduced down to $9,199, or 14% reduction. And that was based again on the audit and the fact that we are ticking downward on the interest. Questions on the 2011 road bond? Final one is our 2016 road bond. We make our last payment on 11/1/2026, this November. That one has a principal payment of $150,000. The interest has been reduced down to $1,597. That was a 66% reduction because we're at the final payment on this bond. So that will be cause for celebration when I send that check in and we get to put 0 next year in the budget. So overall, our debt service has come down 2% over last year with a $4,985 reduction. Questions on debt service? The other items on that sheet is I just like to track county tax and the RSU budget to kind of have a line item. So I just add them in the bottom. It's not anything we budget for, those we get from them. But it's just there for historical knowledge to just see it side by side. It should be, is it in your debt service? Did I know? Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. It's up on the screen. I wasn't sure, but I can resend it back out to you if that one wasn't.
Smudge.
Oh, that was probably the screen print on the side, maybe. Any specific questions, overall questions? It's a lot of information. You can always follow up with questions directly to me in the time after you've had some time to review it.
We will retire the ante room and talk about you.
I look forward to reading about it later. Thank you. The next budget presentations are Public Works, Solid Waste, and Recreation. Recreation has already sent me their budget. The other two I will get out. I'll get them all out in the same email next week, because that would be the week before the next presentation. So you won't have to hear from me next time. I get to just sit back and run the computer.
Thank you very much for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
No, that.
Oh, Conservation Commission is in the voting. Budget Committee is going to have a standalone meeting. If any of the public wants to join that meeting, they're welcome to, or they can stay for ours.
All right. Nice job, Becky.
Thank you.
It's amazing as hard as it is to try to save money, there's just things that come. We could eliminate the quarterly. I mean, that's one of those obvious things, but when you talk to people in Powell, that's what they'd mention. They love getting. So we have 1,600 people, maybe I talked. Those 20 people have said, I really like that. It really gives me information on what happened.
The insert, so sometimes we do the special insert for Pumpkin Fest, or we do one for the Pownell Pride Day. People pull that and put it on the refrigerator. They tell me about it. I really feel it's not required for me to register a car, but I feel like it still is essential. People really get a lot of information from that, and a lot of work goes into that. People, just send in that information. Kathy Hogue coordinates it into the template, sends it to me for proofing, and we get a good deal through Xcopy, and we run on their postage permit, which is better than our postage permit. So, I've cut it back as much as I can, but I just think people get value out of that.
So just so you know, George and Kate, whenever a budget proposal is presented, it's time for you to, I realize you're seeing it for the first time. When you look at this, if you have any questions, please, it's our job we're going to be proposing this budget. So during town meeting, you really want to know what's going on, because it's a general quiz every town meeting. If you have any questions, make sure there are no bad questions when it comes to a budget.
I do have some thoughts on the newsletter. I think it's important to keep it, and I think especially for residents that may not have accessibility to being online. But it is also something that we could, if we absolutely had to trim, we could consider having it so that people requested that be mailed to them and not just sending it out to everybody.
I'm not sure that would be a time saver if I have to have somebody constantly maintaining that too. So there was a request early on for us to mail to just the people that wanted hard copy, and then send a digital for those that wanted in digital. And I'm like, that would be maintaining 2 mailing lists all the time. It just seemed like it would be more work than it is to just hard mail out. And in the end, even if we cut it down by half, you're only talking about 200 a mailer. I mean, that's not a lot of money at that point. Like, I have looked at ways, like, can we trim? What can we do here? And then, like you said, people will come in with it in their hand and said, hey, I read in this, and, you know, ask questions about a piece of information that was in there, and they're reading it, which is really good.
I don't know when the select board developed its goal, but we do have a goal to try to increase citizen involvement in the town. They can't get involved unless they know what's going on. You know, we all pay tax bills, but we all probably should know why we're paying the bills, and other than coming to town meeting or coming to these meetings. Okay. So anyway, just a exhortation to make sure that if anything that's unfamiliar or you don't know or understand, please ask questions. Next item on the agenda is the CAP committee request to remove refurbished engine number 2 from asset schedule. We have a note from Mr. Schuman that says, at its January 7th, 2026 meeting, the Capital Assets Planning Committee voted to recommend removing refurbished engine 2 from the plan's asset schedule as the work is complete. This item was added for a single instant, is now outdated. Removal requires committee recommendation and select board approval. We request your vote on this change. Chief Peters attended a discussion, supports this action. Sincerely, Paul Schuman. George, I'm sure you have a motion.
I motion that we remove the requested line item for refurbished engine 2 from the CAP committee.
I second.
Moved and seconded to remove the refurbishing engine 2 from capital asset plan asset schedule. Any further discussion? Seeing none. So moved. So ordered. Next item on the agenda is Ampion Solar. Okay.
So we heard the presentation 2 weeks ago, and then you all wanted to take some time to think about it. I didn't reprint any of the stuff from that, Kate. So you asked me to put it back on this agenda for the board to just discuss if they wanted to move forward with it or still have more questions to bring back to either Eli or Brian, right? Brian.
George, do you have any thoughts about?
I mean, it seems like it's pretty straightforward. It's a buy-in program that's going to help offset some of the cost for our electrical, but at the same time, they kind of called it out themselves where it's like it's almost too good to be true. So I'm kind of conflicted on it, but that's just me.
Pete, what do you think?
My biggest interest in it is that it represents, I think, a cost savings to the town. And it's a little confusing. I have a feeling that it's the sort of thing that you will understand better once you try it. I don't know anybody that's got, for example, their residents on a community solar program. It might be interesting to gather more information about that, just because I don't, as I said, I don't know, I'm not acquainted with any residents that use it. Or we could gather information through another municipality by reaching out to them or reaching out to Brooksville, I guess, find out their experience with essentially doing some fundraising through that program as well. That might be kind of interesting to get some firsthand knowledge. But in general, it kind of raised my eyebrows that they did a partnership with the town and that they are available to municipalities and that they would save us money.
So that's the key component to me is I'm not sure, I'm not sure of how much money it's going to save. I would love to take this and give it to the Capital Asset Planning Committee just to consider. I think they would be, I mean, utilities aren't part of their their purview, but it's, I guess I don't understand, is Ampian providing this billing service so that perhaps Pownell residents will become involved, or, I mean, I'm not sure, we also are responsible not to put the town in harm's way if this goes south, so. And I just don't I just don't understand it. I really don't. So, maybe can we table this? I'm gonna talk to Paul Schuman and the committee and see if they want to look at it and if somebody who really knew what was going on could recommend, then I love the idea. I love the idea of supporting solar. I love the idea of supporting, but I just don't know enough about. If it were my personal account, I would do it because I would just be jeopardizing my own finances, but I don't want to jeopardize the town's finances. So, it was a really good presentation. I mean, it does sound too good to be true.
I do have a question. What would the process be for signing up for it? Is it something that would go to town meeting?
Well, I don't think so. I think, and that's the scary thing. I mean, if we're town meeting, I'd say, let's put it on the warrant. And then we'd be absolved of any kind of responsibility, but we're the overseers of the town and we have to decide on how the town pays its bills and for what. So I just like another set of eyes on this. And, I'm going to ask Paul with the board's permission and just try to see if there's anything lurking in the weeds here.
I think to Kate's comment, a call to Brooksville might be helpful, like real eyes on it, because hearing the whole, well, we're always 3 months behind, so we sign up and we don't see anything for 3 months in the credits, people get discouraged and leave. And I think my other concern is, again, if the town is going to join a campaign, we're essentially endorsing this. And if someone isn't happy, my phone's going to be ringing. And it's really not my program, but we supported the program. And I guess I just want to make sure,
Exactly.
all the ins and outs. Yep, all the ins and outs.
All right, here's a parable. I love the town road department to be running electric vehicles. I think if we ever did that, I would be voted, my property would be voted out of the town. I think we really need to get a sort of a pulse, get a finger on the pulse of what the town.
The other piece too, as we started with the Community Resilience Partnership Grant Program, we sort of outlined a goal starting with the heat and cool pumps to improving the lighting, hopefully seeing some window grants to eventually maybe put panels on this back portion. And if we're going to pursue that, I mean, maybe we enroll for the time period, and once we get to that, then we become more self-sustained on solar ourselves directly. But just something to think about if our future goal might be to move towards solar panels. This might be a way to test it, or it might be maybe we don't want to go through all that work, knowing that in a year or two, we might be on that. Is the cost savings going to be enough for the amount of work to get us in it, and then the amount of work to get us out too? And then if we have a campaign, are we going to get enough that's going to be substantial towards a project if we did want to go that way? So it's a lot of questions.
But there were questions worth asking.
Mhm.
I mean, so if we can save the town money.
I think hearing directly from a person who's seeing it on their bills real world experience would be a lot helpful.
Who's gonna volunteer to call us?
That would be me.
Thank you, Kate Day. Thank you, work with the team.
And then I would encourage, if it goes to CAP committee, that they follow the meeting that we had and the information that has thus far come out, just for efficiency, or I'm happy to talk with Paul or.
I will reach out, but I certainly won't ask them to move until you talk. That would be the most important information. Okay. Electrical systems. We have before us a estimate for upgrading the electrical system in the town garage. Is that correct?
I don't know anything about.
This is a recommendation from our road commissioner. Just to bring the garage up to the 21st century, try to get some lights around fueling stations, some lights to get in and out the building. I know they won't have enough money in the budget to do this, but this might be something that we have to consider. He's recommended it, so it's presented to the board as a proposal from the road commissioner.
So in their budget, they did include an extra 10,000 in their building maintenance for the sand and salt shed to replace doors, but we put a hold on that pending this audit and assessment, because that work might be able to be done with that. So potentially, the original road commissioner that drafted the budget had put in that 10,000 for some maintenance to the salt and sand shed. So there is some money in that budget line that could really go towards this. When I looked at the number today, they had only spent about 1,500 out of that $18,000 line.
Okay, so there is money available, so then it is possible to do this if the board recommends doing it or approves this particular proposal. Once again, it's purely for safety. There's no hot tubs.
So there is only one estimate, as far as we know.
Yes. Thoughts from the board?
So, I mean, I feel like we should support them if they're driving in and around the salt shed and they're saying lighting's poor, then, we should encourage them to do these types of upgrades if their budget can support it. However, at the same time, I feel like one quote isn't quite enough to really get a good feeling. Couple, three maybe from a couple different vendors instead of just going through one specific person first shot, because they may find that they could save $500,000 on the project.
Kate?
I agree that it might not be a bad idea to get another estimate, but yeah, I agree with George. I think it's obviously a safety concern.
Okay, then, with a nod, we'll ask the road commissioner to get another quote and just compare. And based on that, I'll tell him that we would approve the lower one. We support his desire to keep his men safe and himself safe. and see if he can, I mean, they're pretty busy right now. Let's see if they can get another person to come and look. I'm not sure. I think this outfit has done some work in that building before. So they're just using the known quantity, so. All right. That's me, so I better note. Okay, next item on the agenda is, well, while we're here, what are we doing with the salt shed proposal?
We're going to talk about that. Oh, it should have been on here.
So we're gonna talk about.
It was on here. It was supposed to be on here to talk about this.
Right now.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
I hope you all did your homework and read that incredibly prolific proposal. Okay, so it's, what is it, $29,000 they're asking for, right?
Yes. Do you want my thoughts since I'm opening?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I read through, project team, just a couple of notes. A couple of them, had done very similar projects I thought was really interesting. Boston Fire Department, structural evaluation of isolated concrete deterioration. Metal stair corrosion seems to be right up our alley. Facility condition and infrastructure assessment of 5 buildings. So, they've done something similar. I liked that, getting into number 4, that they said it's a fixed fee of $29,700. However, when you get into the fine print, they talk about, on occasion, Gale will engage the specialized services of individual consultants or other companies to participate in a project. The cost of such services plus a 15% service charge shall be invoiced to the client. So I don't know if we might want to think about including 15% higher than that amount in case they do contract out, and then they basically put a general contractor fee on top of that and invoice us. That was one sticking point. My other sticking point under ownership of documents, now this came up a couple of years ago when we did an assessment for either the village district or the future facilities, I can't remember, where they, the company we had chose stated that they own the documents. And at the time, our town attorney was Natalie, and there was some go back that the town needed ownership. And they do have a whole section in here about they are the owners of the document. So that would be something in the contract that we're going to want to make sure Ben looks at, because we need these documents to release again. I did like also, though, they will give us a projected cost of what they think all the repairs will be. They plan to get that to us at the end of March based on their timeline, which means that could make it for the June warrant.
Mhm.
So that was good. Tim had one part in here that I highlighted under project parameters and limitations, specialized material testing of construction component and assemblies. Doesn't sound like they're going to do that, and he thought that was going to be important to the project. Above my knowledge there, but I just wanted to mention it. Overall, I thought it was a really good proposal. It came in a lot less than I thought it was going to be. And their timeline presents an option for us to get something on the June warrant for the actual repairs versus waiting almost another year.
George, thoughts? Thanks, Becky.
So again, it's kind of like Becky just said, over my head when reading some of these RFPs, because I'm just dipping my toes into it for the first time. But I do like how she said their timeline is going to be able to get it to us by March, so that way we could put it on the warrant if we do get a reasonable quote for what the repair cost would be, because I mean that building needs a lot of help. But with that being said, like, it's only going to be a temporary Band-Aid, so I don't think we should kick it down the road too long.
Kate?
I have really nothing to add other than it is time sensitive. And so I think it's probably a good idea to proceed.
Okay, so I'm going to move that we accept the proposal, and that we accept it with an addition. So it's 29.7, right? I want to add
We'll add 4,500 to it, making it be up to 34,500.
Up to 35,000. That money is coming from,
I think under your emergency draw of unassigned funds, because this is required.
so it's important to the motion that this money, the select board has decided that we're in a emergency situation and are going to draw those funds from unassigned fund balance with a wink and a nod. This is not in the motion, that some money is coming back from the unassigned fund balance from the Future Facilities Committee's assessment. So I feel comfortable drawing, I never feel comfortable taking money from that, but we really need to address this issue. So I move that we authorize $35,000 from unassigned fund balance to endorse and accept the proposal from
Gale Associates.
Gale Associates to evaluate the condition of the salt shed.
I second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay.
I will reach out for the contract and I will have the town attorney look that through and hopefully have it for our next meeting for acceptance.
Please. And please include the ownership of,
That will be something I'll be looking for just because I remember it from a few years ago. Yep.
okay. Next item, warranty for Western Star.
I didn't have any documents, but it was in the last meeting to add to this agenda.
So the road commissioner would like to buy the product warranty for the new truck. And in our conversation that I had with him, he mentioned that since we have no mechanic that can work on the electronics of this truck, since the warranty is, and I've lost the figure, but I think it's $4,000, and that warranty is a 4-year warranty. He said it's important because most of the maintenance that we have to pay for that's not under the warranty is killing us. So I'm going to suggest that the road commissioner give us the warranty so we can look at it. So the next meeting we'll be able to vote on it, get it. But I think it's important to consider. We have no one to work on it. Breakdowns now are $5,000 items. They used to be a $400 item. I don't know where the right to repair is going to come into play here, but so anyway, so I'll talk to the road commissioner about the warranty as well, and we'll take it up next meeting.
Okay.
Is that okay with the board? Good. Next item on the agenda is volunteer form for Jonna White. She would like to volunteer for the Pownell Scenic and Historical Society.
Mallet Hall Buildings and Grounds.
Mallet Hall.
She's currently on the,
Oh, I
yeah.
didn't even see. Great. I move that we appoint Jonna D. White to the Mallet Hall Building and Grounds Committee.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I know Jonna, she's committed to the Historical Society. She'd be an excellent member for the Mallet Building Hall. All in favor? Thank you, Jonna.
We will get an oath ready for her tomorrow.
IOV Community Planning Contract. Becky.
Hi, before you is the draft contract for professional services for IOV Community Planning to do planning services for us for up to 8 hours per week. She has listed in here, consultant agrees to provide professional services to the town related to long-range land use planning to include alignment of panel's existing land use ordinances with relevant state law changes, including but not limited to LD 337, LD 427, LD 2003, and LD 1829, as may be applicable. Revisions to land use ordinance consistent with recommendations of the town's adopted comprehensive plan, amendments to the impact fee ordinance consistent with local goals, general coordination of land use planning with other goals and policies of the town, regular monthly check-ins with the planning board chair and code enforcement officer to ensure ongoing alignment and other duties as may be mutually agreed upon by the town administrator and the consultant. This contract has been vetted by the town attorney. Some slight language change. It was completely agreeable to Isabel on this. She does similar work for the town of Monmouth, and it's being very successful up there. It is ready for your consideration.
Day.
We have worked with Isabel before and been extremely satisfied with the professional services. I move that we approve this professional services agreement with IOV Community Planning and Consulting.
Second it.
Moving seconded to approve the contract with IOV Community Planning. Is there any further discussion? We really need this. I think we're in trouble and we really need to, I think Shane has talked a number of times about the ordinances, the vagueness of the ordinances. We really need this. So, all in favor? Welcome, Isabel.
Great. I will notify her tomorrow.
Is there any other new business? Is there any old business? Any correspondence from any fan mail? Anything else? So I had a phone call from the engineering department from the University of Maine. They would like us to consider, they're gonna send something along. They would like to, they tried to do this before, assess the Allen Road Railroad overpass. We were on the list 3 years ago. They just want to see if they could figure out a way to make it more efficient. I said, please send the proposal. So I just want you to know that's in the works. I know I drove there today. It was super sketchy. Yeah. So that, I had, number of phone calls about road conditions, but that is sort of general. I don't think I need to put those into the record. I had a phone call about skunk, which I passed on to the new animal control officer. And I had 3 phone calls about town collisions with trash receptacles in town vehicles. Who is responsible for repairs, or paying them? Which I had.
It should be noted, Casella has shifted a day this week. They pulled their trucks for Monday. And so trash pickup this week will be Saturday. We have already, that came through on Friday. So Jaylene has already gotten one post up. We'll be in a constant contact. She'll get another post up on Facebook this week, but just to have in the minutes too, they've shifted everything by a day just for this week only, compensate for the storm closure.
I'm not sure how to get the information out about where to place the receptacles
With
by the side of the road.
7 feet snowbanks. This was one of our concerns and questions. I mean, this is our first real winter since having the automated system. And, yeah, I don't know.
So I don't know if we can put on the website that this is what I've gotten, is that the receptacles really need to be level. You can't like sort of, well, we've all seen the truck, right? We've all seen, have you looked at the operation? Yeah, so there's not a lot of flexibility in the pickup here, so the receptacles have to be on level ground. So sure, the phone will be busy next week, but if there's any way we can get information out, maybe on the website,
Mhm.
listen, try your hardest to put your receptacles on, keep them off the road, but level. I don't know how to do it, but no suggestions or recommendations from the other board.
You must be getting calls from the 9% of people that are unhappy with the new bins.
I'm not sure. 9% is a, I get the phone calls about trash every week, so. All right, well, enough of my woes. No one's using the cell phone that I have. It's still on my personal phone.
Really? Because
Yeah.
your personal number is not on the website anymore. The cell phone is what's posted.
It's institutional knowledge.
They have programmed it.
I hired my youngest son, maybe one of my foster kids to answer the phone now. So.
There you go.
All right, I move that we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?